these left. And what these are, it's a little tool I made. I think I introduced this to you last time I was here. This is the second version, but it's a fair viewfinder is what I call it. And it has 5 uniquely sized windows for viewing according to the panel or paper you're painting on. You would open up these windows, and the ratio of these windows are all at the top line here, and it gives you really good blinders for blocking out things you don't want to paint, and it frames your scene that you want to paint really well. It's got the tick marks on the sides to give you the exact location for the golden ratios. It has Edgar Payne's composition types printed on the sides for good ideas and good references for design. And then I'm going to have more on this. These are my grounding values. You get 6 grounding value options for simplifying your scene down to.
Steve, if you put it under the camera, especially the small little bit,
to lights, mediums, and darks that occupy your background, middle ground, foreground shapes. So super fun little tool. It helps me not be overwhelmed when I'm out there plein air painting and I'm seeing all this beautiful detail, that all these options of paintings I can paint. I can do this with my hands or the little guy, but it gives me really good ideas on composition and design and helps me simplify my painting down, because your power as an artist is your ability to simplify. Most artists go into painting with detail at the very top of the list, and then they struggle in copying all that detail onto their painting. And some detail is good. I'd say 20% of the detail that you would put in is in and around your hero or your center of interest is a good thing. 80% is really not needed to tell your story, to tell a complete story in your painting. So again, your power, your superpower is your ability to simplify into value plans are super important. I learned this from Irving Shapiro at the Academy. Every painting he did a little thumbnail value sketch, and I'm sure Ken Call can vouch for his little value plans. Those are priceless little guides for you to paint from. And he had his little photos right along with his little value study, but he would rely on that value plan more so than the photograph. And his paintings were gorgeous. So these are available for $35.
Tell them what else is in there.
The instructions are in here. So you got full or half-page instructions. This little guy, this is a fun little exercise we did at the workshop.
You put it under the camera?
Oh yeah. I think I keep forgetting I have this. So this is, I'm out. I'm working with a friend, Ted Stanizek, who is one of my friends. He's a designer extraordinaire, I'll call him, because he had his design firm in Chicago, very successful design firm, also an Academy graduate. He's now retired. He sold his business and living off his income now. But he said, and I brought this to Ted, and he said, "Okay, Steve, you got to paint me 6 paintings of each one of these." So I did that here, and feel free to take pictures of these, but this is your grounding values plan. Your ability to see the background, middle ground, foreground shapes in light, medium, and dark values is going to send your paintings to that next level. Again, this is the simplification process. And it's a paradox. You think, okay, I have to simplify my painting to make it look better, and don't I need more detail to make it look better? No, you don't. It's a lie. A lie from the pit of hell, I'll say. Don't fall for that trap, that more detail is more better. It's not. It's not. So you have a little printed guide on that.
Do it under the camera.
Oh, yeah. You've got descriptions on the composition ideas here. A little letter I wrote. And then understanding design, grounding values, integrating the golden ratio, and the power of composition. So that, and then a little value strip. Yes. Yeah, you can buy them. I have a website. You can buy them. Website is fairviewfinder.com.
They're worth every penny.
And then I would encourage you guys to go there. There's a lot of free stuff. You could download the free instruction manual, and then I would download a free version of. There's 16 composition ideas. There's like another 19, 20 composition ideas that you can freely download without paying a penny.
I'll put it back.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and then for our workshop we did on the last 3 days, the very first thing we did, in typical workshops, the artist starts a little demo and you waste the first 2 hours watching them paint. Her paint. We jumped right into painting, and we did a little paint along of 12 little paintings, understanding the powers of contrast in design. And then in the handout, they got the full list of the elements and principles of design. So if you have, and I tell this to all my art friends, if you have $100 to spend to improve your art this year, spend $80 on learning design, learning the ins and outs of design, understanding the elements and principles of design and how they relate one to another. And we focused in on one of the principles of design, which is contrast. And within contrast, we picked out 12 powers of contrast, whether it's light versus dark. We have edges, hard versus softer edges, big shapes versus small shapes. And feel free to come up and take pictures of this. But the understanding and actually painting these examples infuses the artists with this muscle memory that they gain from painting these little exercises. And it took about an hour and a half, 2 hours to go through this, but it was invaluable. This is not on my website, so take pictures of those. Yeah. Because what I'm going to be demoing is, and I'll be talking about, okay, I'm using this power of contrast, this power of contrast, this power of contrast, this power of contrast, and this one, and maybe this one. So I'll use like 5 or 6 of these in one single painting, and by lapping and connecting these powers of contrasts, your paintings become not just copies of reality, it's becoming more art and design creations that when people see this, they get moved to a whole new level of beauty and confidence in their own life. So it's something. Oh, here's my little thing I did. There's 10, 11, 12, and then we took time and this is surprisingly more difficult than it looks, but we actually painted versions of this. These are great exercises to do when you just don't want to paint a painting and you just want to exercise little things. You have a half an hour, you could do one of these little things in a half an hour. And then,
Steve?
Yeah.
What was the other $20 that we're gonna spend? If we have $100.
Oh, great question, Brett. So, you've spent now $80 in design, learning the elements and principles of design, and you have $20 left. What do you do with that? You spend $10 on buying the best supplies available. All your paints, all your paper, all your whatever, brushes, and then you spend the other $10 on art that moves you. Become an art collector. Buy art from each other. But only if it moves you. And understand why it moves you is probably the best lesson that you can learn. I tell when artists at shows like at the Antioch Gallery, go to that gallery and don't just look at a painting, but allow that painting to move you, whether it's good or bad. And chances are, if it's moving you in a good way, it was designed well, it was painted with fresh brush strokes and not overworked. That's the confidence coming out. And then it has a story, some element of story that pulls on your heartstring. If it's moving you in that way, in a good, confident way, it's well designed, and it has a good, solid story, buy it. Because other people will buy it before you, and then you've lost out.
Can I pass this around?
Yes. Yeah, feel free to pass that around. Okay, so how much time do I have?
We go usually till 10:30, and then we take a break, and then till 11:30.
Perfect. Okay, so one of the things I love doing, and I'm here not to paint a pretty painting for you. I'm here to demo what I do best to elevate my skill level. And that is to do little tiny vignettes of multiple little paintings. And it's so fun. The more painting you do, the better you get, the faster you get. You could spend 3-4 hours on a big sheet of watercolor paper, and in that 3-4 hours of time, you will learn maybe 4 or 5 really good things that you could take with you. But if you had that 4 hours of painting time and you spent doing little studies, these little studies on gray paper, and I brought gray paper to paint on today, is just so fun to paint on. Because now you're not making a pretty picture that you could frame and sell. You are learning concepts that will live with you for the rest of your life. It's just such a valuable thing. And
That's better, yeah.
one of the things I do in October, November timeframe is I'll hand paint my own Christmas cards. So I buy full sheets of watercolor paper, cut them up into 7x10 frames like this. And then I have an outline where I outline the pencil 4x6, leaving a 1/2 inch around. And then I'll mask that off with green frog tape. And then I'll paint either in been doing that for about 6 years. And my wife, every year, she says, "You're not doing that again, are you?" Yes, Bobby, I am doing it again. Because on face value, it looks like I'm doing all this work and then I'm just giving it away. And in reality, what I'm doing is I'm giving myself a present of muscle memory. So you're cranking these things out, and you're giving yourself 10 minutes to do a painting. And that speed that you get will actually improve your painting. So if you give yourself a limit of limited time, limited palette, limited brush stroke, there's another paradox for you. Your painting actually is better over the long run.
So can we be on your Christmas list?
Yes, buy a painting and make sure I have your address. Yes. But these are so fun to do, and I'll do. I tape 6 up on a board, and I have my boards, just cardboard, and then I'll give myself an hour to paint 6 of these things in a day. In the morning, my morning time is the best time. I'm sharpest in the morning, and then I'll probably do 2 boards in the morning for 2 hours, and then I'm done for the day. So I have 12 cards done. Lately, the last 3 years, I've been doing them in oil on watercolor paper. And, after the green frog tape, I'll prime that surface with Binzinzer shellac. It's a nice primer. You can get it Ace Hardware. It dries in 15 minutes. I can paint that in oil. It protects the watercolor paper, so you don't want to put oil paint right on watercolor paper. You could, but it's going to destroy the fibers of the watercolor paper.
What's the name of that shellac?
Binzinzer. Binzinzer is the company that makes it. You see the big bin, B-I-N, and then Zinzer. It's a primer. It's like Kills, but it's a shellac. So it's a alcohol-based shellac that dries. It's a white shellac that dries in 15 minutes.
Clear or color?
White.
White.
White. Yeah. Okay, I have one here in oil paint.
Just put it under the camera first.
So you put that on the paper first.
Yeah, I put that on paper first if I'm painting it in oil.
How long does the oil take to dry?
The shellac.
The shellac takes 15 minutes to dry. The painting takes about 2 weeks to dry. Yeah, I have. Yeah. And then sign it. After it's dry, the oil painting is dry, I sign it with like a Sharpie, real fine Sharpie. And then I put cold wax medium over the whole thing, over the whole painting, 4x6 painting, so it evens out all the shine. And then I buff that out, and then I peel that green tape off, and that's the best part. That's the best part of painting, is peeling that tape off.
So does each one of them, I missed part of what you were talking about.
Oh, yeah.
What's your subject, or what?
Okay, so let me show you my this last year's watercolor card collection is it's all winter scenes. So it's trees in the woods with snow.
And you painted each one of those in 10 minutes?
Yes.
You're hired.
I should have a little demo on just painting. We should do that.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Are you gonna come back from Michigan for us?
Well, I'm back here like in November. I got demos in Arlington Heights, Elk Grove, and Wheaton. Oil painting demos in those 3 cities they asked me to do. But These are so fun to demo. Oh my goodness. Yeah. But you see the subject is kind of the same, but it always has a hero. I follow an 80-20 rule. 80% light, warm, 80, no, 20% light, warm, 80% cool darks. So it's my David and Goliath approach to design. And the hero, my David, that light warm is occupying the center of interest. And my job is to create high contrast in and around that center of interest and then gently move out soft brushes out from around that. So yeah, it's super fun to do. So on each board has 6 paintings on it, and I'll do the same subject. Bum, 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 bum. I feel like a little Chinese sweatshop worker. But I'm learning. Every painting is giving me insight into the next painting. And then I try to replicate what's happening in this one into the next one. And I'll try to do that to the 4th one, and 5th and 6th. And then the next board is a different scene. And I'm doing that over and over again. But the value that you get from doing these small little 4x6 paintings is just a gift that you will give yourself, that you will cherish for the rest of your life in the future paintings that you make. You'll use all of this knowledge.
So say that again, 20% light warm and 80% what?
Cool dark.
Cool dark.
So you're playing off with the powers of contrast. So here's a great example of it, and it's just abstract.
Thank you.
I love your accent.
Oh, no.
Are you Irish?
Will I tell? Yeah.
I love, my grandmother was Irish.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, oh man, I gotta give you a hug. Anyway,
Maybe, yeah.
here's my 20% warm light. That's my hero. My job is, and your job as artists is the art director of this opera stage, right? You have to control the elements, control the actors that are playing on your stage. If one actor is overacting their lines, you have to quiet them down. You want to give the star of your show as much light, as much contrast, as beauty as possible. If you're seeing that your painting has all this detail over here, your job is not to copy that detail. It's to eliminate, simplify, get rid of. If they're not serving the story. Okay. So this is color intensity, pure color versus gray color. Temperature, warm versus cool. Here I flipped it. I learned this. Now I'm doing this one, but I wanted to flip it. I want the pure color to be cool, ice cold, and I wanted 90% of this painting to be warm darks, and it works. I could still do that by flipping the rule, you know. Placement. This is following the golden ratio here. This area here with a red dot is my center of interest. Everything else is not. That's important. This one, brushwork. Quiet brush, and watercolorists have the advantage of that quiet wash of color. And then you have the center of interest is busy brushwork, active brushwork. That's where your brush is now.
I'm gonna hold it steady because it's
Oh.
wobbling.
That's where, now your brush is, now you're acting like a Japanese calligrapher. You're making these little active brushwork in and around that 20% of the center of interest. Texture.
Okay.
Watercolors don't have much texture, but you can throw salt, you can throw water, you can throw alcohol, you could create that texture. You can do some thick paint, impasto painting with paint right out of the tube. Lay that down in there. and get some interest and texture into that 20%. 80% is soft washes.
And that paint that you used on the feather, that also created texture.
Yes. If you haven't gotten hematite genuine, so this is another lesson we did at the workshop, which is a simple reverse gradient. So we use the feather as the shape, dark to light, dark to light. So you're painting the positive shape here, you're painting the negative shape here, and you spritz a little water in the downy area of your feather, and blending those edges off into the water, and then doing some negative painting up in here. But the hematite is like painting with dirt. It's so granular, and you can add that.
Steve, did you ever try using aquapasto, not pasta, aquapasto?
No.
It's with a couple of the different, it's for texturizing watercolor.
Oh, fun.
Did Daniel Smith makes the hematite?
Daniel Smith makes the hematite genuine, yeah. It's got a super subtle warm undertone to the gray, but it's wonderful to paint on. Leading lines. Lines are an element of design. There's like 7 elements and about 15, 18 principles of design. Know these. This is your $80, right? This is, go on the website and learn what are the elements and principles of design. Just ask that and create your own archive of elements and principles of design and how these interact with each other. Line is an element of design. We talked a lot about continuous line and the discontinuous line and how those lines lead the eye to the center of interest. Oops, sorry. And the last 2 are abs style, the contrast between abstractness of your painting and the representational of your painting is another way of bringing the attraction of the eye to your center of interest. And then subject. We talked about the hierarchy of attention. So at the base of your triangle, the most, if you're a landscape painter, the most that you're ever going to be painting is nature, right? That covers the base of that. And then as we go up in the levels of attraction, you're going to have, the minute you have evidence of human activity, whether a structure or some sort of element out there, architectural element, a little hut in your scene, that's a very attractive piece. You want to make sure that that's near your center of interest. If your center of interest is in nature and you have a hut or evidence of activity over here, now you're splitting your attention. You don't want that. Above evidence of human activity is going to be a heartbeat. So if you have an animal, a live animal, or a human in your scene, that's very attractive, more so than the house. So the human is, or the animal is above that, and then above that is going to be a human, and then above that is going to be the face, and above that is the eye. So the face, the eye is more for portrait painting.
Okay.
So here I have a little beach scene that is got 20% umbrella. Under that umbrella, I have a little human and a little dog, and it's very attractive for capturing that attention in your paintings. Okay? So take pictures of this and do your own powers of contrast and design. It's going to help every painting you create from there on out. All right, let's have fun. Okay, these are little, I love the stipple bee pad. here. The stipple bee pad is, they called this cocriel paper back in the 80s, 70s, 80s. It's now stipple texture. It's super fun to paint, to draw on with pencil, soft pencil. Get yourself a nice, solid 4B, 8B, 6B pencils, real soft, and fall in love with drawing again. Shading, for value's sake only. It's so fun. And I tell them, as we do our value studies, we are breaking the painting down into light, medium, and dark shapes that occupy the background, middle ground, foreground shapes. Learn your values. Get a 0, 25, 50. I like 5s, also 7 and 9. Always use an odd number, so the midpoint is going to be a 50. That 50% gray. And then we talked a little bit about AI. I don't know if you want to get into that or not. Do you? I see. All right. We'll stop. Fran knows what I'm getting into. Okay, this is a whole rabbit hole if you want to get into. But I'm using an app called Dream by Wombo. And it's a fun little app that I use to generate reference material. So here I have my proportion of the scene. It goes from square, 9 by 16, 16 by 9, 4 by 3 by 4. The prompts, let's go with woodland prompts in this city style from a gallery. Let's pull up a scene. Okay, here's one of my sketches. Oh, here's this sketch right here. That's that sketch. So I'm going to bring that up, and I'm going to tell Dream this is a woodland landscape, boundary waters, streams, forest, Rivendell, volumetric lighting, cinematic composition, rule of thirds, da 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 da. And here I'm giving it influence as to how much influence I want the photograph to have over the final result. So I'm only going to give it my Walter Payton of 34. Yeah, we had some fun on that one. So I say this is my Walter Payton filter of 34. Walter Payton was 34 and on the Bears. So I'll have it create. So it's using my prompt, it's using my sketch here, and it's using the style that I want it to in the influence of Walter Payton, or 34%. And I get 4 options of, it'll probably put it into a winter scene because it's, yeah, grayscales. But these are incredible.
May never paint again.
No, don't use it. Don't think it that way. Think of it as this is a great reference tool that I can now paint from and enhance even more. Think of it as a tool like Photoshop or even a camera itself, the technology of a camera. Don't be afraid of technology, but use it to create art that moves you and people. So there's going to be things wrong with this in design. That's why you want to know design. You want to know the ins and outs of good design, and fix it for your paintings. Be inspired by it. Some people can't get out to visit this stuff, so now you have the ability to generate it yourself and then use it to create even more beautiful work. So that's Dream. I'm gonna demo my little sketches. These are not paintings. It's all in my head. It's all a big sketch. These are and we talked about. I'll try to do this as I paint. It's occupying two sides of my brain, but we talked about in the last workshop finding your taproot, your childlike wonder taproot. So as a child, so I want you to do this for me. And the artists that were in the workshop, if you guys want to share your taproots, that's great. But as a child, we all had these moments of wonder and curiosity, and where time just stopped, and you had no sensation of pain, no sensation of time, and you were just 100% in the zone as a child. Just remember those moments, okay? And then bring that to the forefront of your mind today in the present moment, and come up with 3 words that trigger, or I'll say glimmer is a better word, that glimmer that life back into you now in the present day. So for me as a child, I loved discovering things. I loved experimenting. I loved finding how things worked, and it was just it just got me into my zone. That's how God made me as a person, to be in that moment, and to use that temperament, that personality that I have, and the gifts that I have now is where I get into this total zone. So my 3 taproot words are discovery, adventure, and story. So I bring that forward from my childhood. I remember elements of my childhood where I was discovering things, I was experimenting, I was living the adventure, and telling those stories, and that's what got me alive, made me alive as a child. I bring that forward to my adulthood, and I tap into that root, right? I tap into that root with those 3 trigger words, or glimmer words, I call them. And it's just, it gets you excited. It gets you into the studio. It gets you painting. And so, anybody want to share their glimmer words or taproot words? No? Okay. But we had curiosity. We had is a great word. You know, if you're curious about things, and it's just a beautiful way of living your life and painting the way God made you, and it's just a gorgeous thing when it happens. So find your taproot words. If anything you take out of this, it's gonna be a good thing. I love painting on gray because half the painting is done. Right? And I'm just influencing cools and warms. And I love the quinacridone gold with the ultramarine blue. It's just magic. Let's get some warmth down in the base down in here.
Is that a block of gray paper?
Yes,
Who makes it?
Strathmore. They make 3 tones. This is the gray toned gray. They have a toned blue and a toned buff.
watercolor paper or just?
It's multi-medium paper, so there's very little tooth to it, but the paint floats on top of it. It's just a nice way of painting. And treat these as little studies, your little curiosity moments. What if I try this? What if I try that? And your brain says, "Dang, I like this playfulness. Do more of this." and the pressure of painting a pretty scene on a very expensive watercolor paper is not there. So the pressure is gone. The fear of making a mistake is gone, and you're just playing. And that play is a gift that you give yourself. So I have some nice thick paint here. And I'm going to bring in some of the darks. So my value plan here I used was a light, dark, medium. Light background in that blue sky, in that blue area here, and I'll add some sky holes. Dark middle ground and middle value foreground. So I'm using this motif right here for the painting I'm doing right now. I don't know if you guys follow Thomas Schaller
Yeah.
in his work. His favorite motif is this one here. The middle value background, light middle ground, and dark foreground. He uses that dark foreground as a beautiful repertoire or a visual barrier that you have to get across to get into that painting. Here's my Japanese calligraphy going on, right? Now let's add some lights. I'm using the Winsor Newton Designer Gouache Permanent White. If you wanted to experiment with whites or adding opaque to your watercolor, start with this. It's a great white to have in your pocket.
Zinc?
No, it's more opaque than zinc. I think it's titanium. My eyes.
Started making the type so small.
Yeah.
I have to have a magnifying glass next to my paints.
Yeah. So this is the therapy I talk about when art gives you therapy. It's just the first kind of flowing wash of color. I do this with my oils. That first wash of underpainting is an all transparent. Then I slow myself down. Sit down if it's better for you, and just do some negative painting of shapes And what I create is a discontinuous line that brings the eye back down to the hero of the story, which is this tree up against this light. And find these as you're making these shapes, think continents and islands. I've got a big continent here, little islands coming off. It's a design called clustering. You're clustering shapes together, and then you have little things coming off. So continents and islands. Let's soften up some of those edges a little bit. It was getting too polka dotty. Rotate your brush. Don't be lazy. You know, make every brush stroke count. You're gonna thank me later for that. We get into this lazy habit of dabbing, thinking this is what an artist does. It's mindless dabbing. And when you get to that point, stop and say, okay, reassess. Okay, I'm not an artist. Don't consider yourself an artist. It's better to consider yourself an intriguing shape maker. Okay? I'm not here to make pretty art. I'm here to make intriguing shapes. Your paintings will just rock. And you will then become an artist. What the world calls an artist. But call yourself an intriguing shape maker. It's way better.
Steve, the white that you're putting on there, is your original washes of watercolor, are they still wet at all?
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit.
Does the white paint, like,
This is moist. Pardon me?
does it like soften itself
Yeah.
just like you
Yeah.
would a regular watercolor?
Yeah.
Is it gouache?
It's a gouache, yeah.
So would that be considered a mixed media painting if you would have to put it in a show because you had used that gouache?
It's all watercolor.
Okay.
It's just not transparent watercolor.
Mixed media is what I consider mixed media is like acrylic, colored pencil,
Pen and ink, watercolor.
pen and ink.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas
And then dabbing on some oil at the top.
watercolor includes gouache. You know, elements of gouache. If I'd say over 20%, 30% of your painting is gouache, I would call that a gouache painting with elements of transparent watercolor underneath. But the little pops of opaqueness, I wouldn't call this a gouache painting. This is more of a watercolor painting.
So that's
Orange
titanium
highlights.
white watercolor itself.
It's okay.
Yeah, I know it's opaque, but it's white. Sometimes it sets color white.
So one of the benefits of travel is I get to go to a lot of the conferences, the national conferences, and within those national conferences you have demos and all week long, and they're fantastic. If you can get to one or two, or they're phenomenal. So I went to the Oil Painters of America conference this last spring, and Todd Casey was giving a talk about his book, something about color. I don't remember. But what I do remember is his one saying that I hope you take away as well. And it was, you can create any sin, you can commit any sin with color as long as that color is the value of value of that shape you're putting that color in. And then the light bulb dawned on me. That's exactly what I needed to hear. Because I'm playing with color, I'm playing with value, but let the value be top priority over all your paintings, and then color is down here, and then detail is way down here. A lot of artists flip that and say detail is number one, then color, and then value may be down here. But if your value is top priority, now you're throwing any color you can and want into those value shapes, and that if that color is that value, you're good, you're golden. So if you have a light value like this light blue sky, and if I throw some lighter value of let's say violet, let's start with the lavender and add a little bit of red to get that violet, and add a little bit of light white. That's going to give you, another dimension of color without destroying the value structure of your painting. This is pure lavender now coming in here. And to avoid the dabs, the common dabs, common shaped dabs, more or less, the repetitiveness. Again, rotate that brush. Every move, every brush mark you make, change the position of your hand, and I could see Irving Shapiro doing this in his demos. I wish you guys could see him demoing. It was incredible. Ken, you remember that, right? So in context, you guys are seeing Irving Shapiro through me, and when you see Ken paint, you're seeing his legacy of teachers that he's had influencing you, and then when you guys teach, now our legacy is going through you guys. It's incredible.
Have you ever seen any Tony Couch videos?
Pardon me?
Have you seen Tony Couch, the artist, make his videos?
Tony Couch. No, I haven't seen his
Very
videos.
old, but all he does is value painting.
Yeah.
Color, like you said, color is irrelevant, and he just used values. It's very interesting.
Oh, nice. Yeah, the one painting I think Bobby bought for me was just a value painting, like sepias, and then I had in my hero I just put full color in that little hero of that painting. That's a great technique, but it helps you learn that values really tell the story. Again, the minute you create polka dots, you're creating evidence of humanness. Polka dots don't appear in nature. So when you create polka dots and it's the dabbing, and your eyes are immediately attracted to that, now you're jumped up a level of attractiveness from nature to now evidence of humanness. and your eyes are going right to that polka dot, and you don't want that. So cluster those polka dots together by moving your hand, changing brushes, doing a variety of things. Especially when you put two eyes in the mouth. I'm guilty, so guilty of that. Your eye goes right to that face because we see. Now the face is way up here, and it's just, there's a word for that. I can't remember what that word is.
It's a big long word.
Yeah.
I remember about it.
So I'm going to warm up the bottom down here with a little quinacridone gold. It needs some warmth down in here. And then some greens in the canopy. So here, the eye goes right off the page. So it's my job now to kind of carve in darker shapes that help me keep the eye in, but in the painting. And with discontinuous lines, I'm bringing the eye back down. That's the contrast of lines and discontinuous lines. Now when you're doing trees, you know, it's good to get that gestural movement of the tree from the ground up into the air, but every now and then come in with a horizontal mark. And here I'm adding some warmth to the base of this tree. The horizontal marks are going to slow that eye down. And the warmth at the base of the tree, your eye sees reflected light from all the warmth that is occupying the base of that tree. As that tree branch goes up into the sky, now you're seeing the reflected light of the blue sky reflecting on the wood up in the branch, so you can get some blue up into that top part of that tree. We delved into 3D modeling animation verbiage. I don't know, anybody here a 3D modeler, animator? Ferris? No. There's one term called normals that you would hear if you were an animator, a modeler. And the normals of, we have a little example here. Think of normals as, I don't know where it went. We've all seen pin cushions, right? Those little tomato pin cushions, right? The red and the little leaves of green coming out. Think of normals as a pin pushing in perpendicular to the plane of that tomato pin cushion, and every pin that goes into that tomato is perpendicular to the plane of that tomato. Those are your normals. And the normal is actually pointing toward a reference color or shade of something that affects the color of that tomato. So when you have a tree planted in the forest, the normals are all coming out like this, like a pincushion, okay? And it's planted in the earth. Earth is down here, and all the warmth that is around the base of this tree is affecting the color and the temperature of that base of that tree. As you go up, now all the normals are pointing up into the sky, and from your eye vantage point, the angle of incident is now pointing to that blue sky up in here. So the normals are pointing, giving you clues as to what temperature to make that. So the base of that tree is nice and warm, and as it goes up, it cools off because of that sky influencing all that. So understand your normals. You got it? Okay. I think we have time for one more painting. Let me crank this one out.
Can you zoom in on that?
Yeah.
That's better.
Let me see if I can move the camera for you rather than, because you can't paint holding that. Yeah, just move the arms.
Oh.
Oops, sorry. So you're okay. Okay. I'm over you. Mind your coffee. Yeah. Let's see if we can. Is this?
Okay, just lower it a little bit.
No. Okay, you're gonna have to.
There we go.
No, that's better. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right, and we'll straighten.
So we have 15 minutes. No, we have 12 minutes.
Okay, I'm really going there. Okay. There, I get it.
So I'm gonna pretend this is a little Christmas card. Hey Siri, set a timer for 10 minutes. And I'd have like music, this theatric music be playing in the background. Oh, paint with music. It's wonderful.
Which motif are
Can
you
you
doing?
put the photo?
Oh, right here.
What kind of music do you like?
Oh, let's play it.
Christmas music?
No, I have an Eno Morricone station. Lord of the Rings. Here we go. Eno Morricone is a conductor, composer of those spaghetti westerns from long ago. The Mission is an incredible soundtrack to a movie. That's where my story comes in. You know, I love. Pardon me?
Gabriel's oboe.
Oh, Gabriel's oboe is one of the best musical scores I've heard. And then that same album, On Earth as It Is in Heaven, takes Gabriel's oboe and weaves it into this. Oh my gosh, I get goosebumps just talking about it. But listen to that music score as you paint. Oh my gosh.
Once Upon a Time in America.
Yeah, you know it. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's and that music influences your brushstrokes and just.
It takes you out of your mind away from the. I paint with classical music too.
Oh
It
yeah.
takes your mind to get immersed in the painting.
Yeah. There's trees off in the distance into that moist paper here. Solid tree there. Some scrub. Deborah's theme. Here I'm just using paint right out of the tube, real gloppy. Got a nice waterfall here coming down. Yeah, lavender is crazy cool with when you set it up right. So, you know, this is dry. It wasn't dry before. Do a little spattering if you need to. Let's get that. That earthy color down in here, that Q gold. Here I'm just paint right out of the tube. Get those slivers of light that come in here.
Do you ever paint on larger pieces of the gray paper?
Yeah, I'll do a full, yeah. Yeah, that's one. Eight minutes. Let's call it. Thank you. Pardon me?
That Lord of the Rings, did you
Oh, that last painting? This was
Deborah's theme, I thought you said.
Deborah's theme. It was from